Morning all. Can you hear me okay? Have you all got teas and coffees? Those that have arrived slightly late, it's just off to your left, so don't feel left out. A very warm welcome to Park Inn by Radisson. I was to say many a superlative about this hotel, but I don't think the general manager is here, Frank Whitaker, so I'll move swiftly on. But I jest, it's a great hotel. We're really grateful to Frank for allowing us to use it. You will see the splendid umbrellas out in the, can I call it the forecourt? And we'll hear a bit more about that through Tony in the not too distant. My name's Adrian Watson. I'm the Chief Executive of what they call the Business Improvement District in the city centre, which is Aberdeen Inspired. We're essentially here on behalf of our businesses in Aberdeen city centre to bring a bit of vibrancy back in. You will understand just now it's a real challenge to the high street, not only here, but in the provinces out in the wider region, across the country and beyond. So naturally, we look at every opportunity we possibly can to work in partnership, never in isolation, to bring in interventions of this level, but also push strategically in the city centre through what they call the city centre master plan to see lasting change in the coming days, weeks, months, and years that lie ahead. And I think you'll probably all agree, those of you who are local, you will see a need for us to push the master plan. All we ask in return for our valiant efforts is support, positivity from the North East public, and get behind some of this change. It is never easy, but there is no alternative, frankly. Today, we have, as an organisation, engaged in an event with Tony, delighted to be working with the ADHD Foundation charity. Tony will go into that in a bit more detail. But this is one of many events that Aberdeen Inspired involves itself in. We also engage in the New Art Street Art Festival. Are you familiar with that one? That's the canvases across the city centre that are used by world-class artists and have been since 2017. Quite an interesting one has been the Aberdeen International Comedy Festival. You don't necessarily associate that with the North East public. Insert your own punchline. But we've grown that from a very small, localised affair to the third biggest in the country. And we do that not just in terms of the size and scale, but it is to support local businesses, as you can imagine, because we're in over 25 venues in the city centre. And our whole raison d'etre is to bring people into events like New Art and International Comedy Festival, spend some time here, whether that is for the first time in the city centre, whether you're revisiting. And with that, as clinical as it sounds, spend some money on our local businesses. Because if we ain't doing that in Aberdeen Inspired, then who is, in terms of promoting. So we do those sorts of events as well on the ground. We also do Restaurant Week. It's starting to sound like a bit of a promotion, but it's important we share this with you. We do Restaurant Week, we do Inspired Nights, we do a multitude of events, and we're a team of 8. So we operate in the management terms in the city centre, trying to drive things on the street and support our businesses. We have a big events portfolio, and we also push the master plan at every turn. Today, if I can introduce the one and only, can I say that? Tony Lloyd. He's come all the way up from Liverpool. This charity is really breaking ground in terms of its innovation. It has been very well publicised. I believe you were on the One show last week, Tony. This is the next step up, coming to Aberdeen, as you can imagine. We're delighted because, again, it fits in with what we're about as an organisation. We're trying to be as inclusive as we possibly can as a city. And that's reaching out to all aspects of society, all ages, and one or two with a challenge as well. But it has to be open, and it needs to be accessible as well. So you can see how it fits with our plan. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Tony. But before I do so, Tony has got many strengths, but he's a modest man, so he doesn't want me to go through his CV. He's just got one challenge. He supports the wrong side of the city. He's a Red. He's a Liverpool fan, for those of you who aren't familiar with football, and I happen to be an Evertonian. But we're still working well, Tony, so the product must be good. Thanks, folks.
Scotland is my spiritual home, though, Adrian. I used to live here. Some of my family still live here, so despite being a Liverpudlian. Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much, Adrian Roulet, everybody at Aberdeen Inspired, for inviting us up to speak to you. And I know that a lot of people say, well, what is the Neurodiversity Umbrella Project all about? And it's a celebration. And what we're celebrating here is our emerging understanding that, much to a lot of people's surprise, 1 in 5 human beings are neurodiverse or neurodivergent, depending on which word you prefer to use. 1 in 10 people have dyslexia, 1 in 20 people have dyspraxia, 1 in 20 people have ADHD, 1 in 60 people have autism. We know that 1/5 of the human race have these different minds. And what we're recognizing now is, well, we know that this planet, integral to this planet is biodiversity. Nature loves difference and diversity. And we recognize that this is not just about inclusion, but it is about celebrating the fact that actually in our lives, in our families, in our friendship groups, in our places of work, we all know, love, stand next to somebody who has one of these different minds. And our thinking has changed because we know if 1/5 of the human population is neurodiverse, then there has to be an evolutionary purpose for it. They can't be errors of genetics. They can't be disordered. They're just different. And in the 21st century, we all recognize that different is good. Nature likes difference. Not one of us look the same, sound the same. Unfortunately, there are more than one Evertonian, so I'll have to bypass that one. But the idea is that we're recognizing that in the same way that we've celebrated diversity inclusion in race, in sexual orientation, in whatever football team you happen to support. Diversity is good. It's good for business and it's good for our culture. And this is a celebration of all of that. And what we used to term invisible disabilities, we are now reframing as different abilities. Our concept of intelligence, which has been fairly fixed for the past couple of 100 years, is not just about your literacy skill. Having dyslexia doesn't mean you are not super bright. Yeah. In a research survey that was done a couple of years ago, it was identified that over 35% of business owners and entrepreneurs have either dyslexia or ADHD, or both, because they frequently occur together. We all know who the workaholics are, me included. We know that university graduates who've got ADHD, for example, are twice as likely to start their own business. We know that a very significant proportion of people who are millionaires, a disproportionate number of them have dyslexia. What does that tell us? And actually, what does that ask of us in our communities, in our education system, in our public services and in our businesses? That our concept of intelligence and ability and potential should be an enabling concept, not a disabling concept that defines people by what they cannot do and what they're not good at. So this is about a celebration of that, and it has many, many strands. And we're going to be bringing this celebration to Aberdeen, and it's going to be appearing in 3 locations in the city centre, 2 locations in the city centre of Aberdeen. But actually, we're going to have schools, businesses, libraries, museums, all over the city and the county participating. And what is that for, and what is it about? It's not just about this brightly coloured canopy of umbrellas that are going to be above our heads that never fails to make people smile. It's not just about, recognizing that there are people who think differently. It's about celebrating it. It's about bringing people together to celebrate it. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how we're going to engage with schools and businesses and community arts groups to be part of that celebration. In terms of us as an organisation, we're the ADHD Foundation Neurodiversity Charity. We don't just work with people who have ADHD. We work with people who have autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, because these different minds all come under this umbrella term called neurodevelopmental conditions or differences. and they frequently co-occur. In fact, they rarely travel alone. And as an organization, we work providing training to healthcare professionals, education professionals up and down the country. We've actually trained a lot of schools in Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire, not so much obviously since the pandemic, but certainly before that. And we'll be engaging with schools when this project starts in mid-June, running through to early October. But we'll be working and contacting people, obviously, from next month about how we can engage with all of them. But as an organization, we are a user-led organization. I have ADHD myself. Over 70% of my staff do. But they're all postgraduate qualified, and they're all seen as experts in their field with a national and some of them with an international reputation. We are not a huge organization. You don't have to be a huge organization to be an agent of change. Often you just have to be an innovator. And here's the really interesting thing. The most successful businesses in the 21st century, the businesses that are influencing how we do commerce, our culture, how we communicate, companies like Apple, Sony, Google, IBM, HP, Microsoft, and increasingly the bioscience companies, bioengineering companies, who are not just anticipating trends in business, but are actually creating new markets with innovation that is influencing our lives and how we do business. And those business 201 will tell you that the reason they are so successful and the reason they are so innovative and the reason they have a competitive edge is that because for the past 3 decades, they have been actively recruiting a workforce that is neurodiverse, because they recognize that around the decision-making table, if you have everybody who thinks the same way, all you are going to get is more of the same. And businesses are beginning to realize this, and we need our education system to realize this, that intelligence and ability and employability for our future workforce is not just about how good you are at English and maths. It's so much more than that. It's so much more than whether you are a graduate. And it is about recognizing that the exponential pace of change is one that we need to catch up on in all areas of our lives, particularly education, but also in business. And we're also now working with Microsoft to produce resources for university students for the whole of Europe with this in mind. And for us, as an organisation, we run a whole lifespan multimodal clinic service in the northwest of England. Because for me, as an organisation, if I'm going to be a voice and an advocate for social change, I think anybody who wants to speak out about what things need to happen, you have to be able to walk the talk and demonstrate what a good practice, best example, exemplar model is. And while we have that, we work right across the country, obviously work very closely with government. We've been involved in policy forums as well with Scottish Parliament, as well as the Welsh Synod, obviously, as well as Westminster. So we're trying to achieve social change for everybody. And that means working in partnership with lots of people and bringing different minds to the table. And it is about recognizing that this is about more than inclusion. It is about celebration, and it is about innovation in a way that benefits everybody. So we're talking about neurodiversity as a strength-based perspective. It's about I can rather than IQ. It's not about who's allowed to do what. It's about what do we need to do and how do we work together to do it. It's also about asking questions, isn't it? About what kind of workforce do we need? What kind of skills do we need in business and enterprise and entrepreneurialism in Aberdeenshire? And that's not just about whether you've got a degree. It is about character. It is about citizenship. It is about innovation. It is about thinking differently. And Aberdeen has a very proud history of entrepreneurialism. It's one of the most successful cities in the country. And it is going through a transformation, and that transformation is exciting and dynamic. but it is contingent upon all of those different minds and different perspectives coming together to contribute, because we know when that happens, there is a synergy that makes things happen where the sum becomes greater than the parts. So we're talking about colouring your mind for success, about seeing things differently, and about understanding that other people see things differently from you. It doesn't mean that they're wrong and you're right, or vice versa. What it means is that actually there are different ways of looking at something in order to find solutions, create opportunities, and capitalize on opportunities. These are some of the organizations that we work with. We've had some outstanding successes in Manchester, London, Gloucester, Merseyside, and actually a lot of schools and businesses all across the country. But this year there's actually going to be public installations in nearly 20 cities, as well as obviously thousands of schools and businesses. Now, the schools and businesses or retailers need only have one umbrella hanging from their ceiling. The point is, it is that participation, it is that understanding. And all of these businesses, if you look on, I mean, how many of you are on LinkedIn, for example? Neurodiversity is what everybody is talking about right now. And that's a great source of encouragement for me, who's been rapping on about it for over a decade. So these are all the places we're going to be. As I say, we've got people like Rolls-Royce involved. Glasgow University are going to be the main agency behind the installation in Glasgow. We're still just trying to nail down Edinburgh, but there are all these different places. I can tell you that for the first few weeks that these installations go up, they go viral, and they are the most featured image on Instagram globally. So you're going to be part of something that's quite exciting, really. But what I would say to you is, you have a unique character and identity as Aberdeen, and you've got to make this your own. And for that reason, we want to work with a lot of community arts groups, have them doing performances in the cities. We want people coming into the city and being part of that celebration. You know, being in a city centre is not just about, you know, shopping. It is about those transport links. It is about those key agencies that people have to connect with. It is about centres of public service that impact on the wider area. It is about where a lot of the main business is done that impacts across the whole county. So we want to engage with community arts groups as well. And this is just a short clip.
Great time today. We brought 140 singers down from across all of our choirs to sing on Church Alley on this wonderful setting you can see behind me under the umbrellas. We've been raising awareness for the ADHD Foundation and the Gene Kelly Legacy. We had a really terrific time singing songs for the public. Got to do a special performance with the dancers from the local schools of This Is Me.
I brought in the Neurodiversity Big Band from Warrington to celebrate BBC Music Day and to support the ADHD Foundation under the Umbrella Project. It's been great to work today with the rock choir and all the neurodiverse people that have got all these musical gifts that have brought it together today.
A lot of the children today have been singing in the rain and dancing with their umbrellas, and that's something that we're going to be doing more of and celebrating in October, when Singing in the Rain is actually re-released and supported by the Gene Kelly Legacy, who use Gene's music and dance as a way of providing therapeutic support for people with autism and other neurodiverse conditions like ADHD. So what a great way to start that celebration, and what a great way to celebrate BBC Music Day. It is about a celebration. It is about engaging as many different organisations as possible. And again, really need to thank Adrian and Roulé of Aberdeen Inspired, because we've made contact with a lot of organisations and we're looking at different revenue streams as well that are perhaps going to be able to provide a little bit of funding to enable them to be engaged. So we're saying to you, think about how you can be involved, in what way you can celebrate and be part of this. And also, just to make a point, we are going to be offering some live stream webinars for schools and colleges across the northeast of Scotland and Aberdeenshire. We're also going to be able to offer a couple of webinars to businesses. What we're saying to businesses as well is there is a neurodiversity friendly award. Now, all you have to do for that, whether you work in a shop with 2 staff or whether you work in a business with 500 staff, is that there is a simple series of online short webinars, articles and tick box questionnaires, where if your staff complete that, then you can get this neurodiversity friendly kite mark. You can have a sticker on your window. You can use it on your stationery. It's ridiculously cheap at £10 or something like that for people to use. And if you're in a big business, then it's even cheaper because there are economies of scale. So whether you're a corner shop with 3 staff, you know, a restaurant, whatever organisation you are, if you wanted to do that, then you're welcome. But there are also going to be a couple of free webinars as well, so that everybody understands what this is about. But really, we're saying to you, these are some of the things that have happened in other cities. What happened in Heathrow was really quite phenomenal. What happened on the South Bank when we did a project there resulted in Warner Brothers coming over from the States and saying, right, we're going to re-release Gene Kelly's Singing in the Rain in cinemas across the UK. We had all kinds of celebrities who were taking part in producing educational comics for children. We've got a lot of them involved in producing T-shirts and sweatshirts and things like that, you know, a lot of celebrities. There are a lot of people in public life who are neurodiverse, far, far more than many of you would ever realise. And it's great that now people feel comfortable and not ashamed about their difference. Why should they be? They are not less than. And, you know, that's a great thing for all of us, really. And we want to make this something that businesses can be involved in. Schools, public service providers, shops, restaurants. Our patrons obviously are supporting it. Alison Moyer is particularly involved in Brighton. Simon Weston's particularly involved in what we're doing in Cardiff. And of course, Patricia. Scotland is a bit of a second home for Patricia, because she has a really close relationship with Scottish Ballet, although she has a close relationship with most of the big arts organisations in the world. Rory Bremner, of course, who is a Scot, our academic patron, who is a wonderful, wonderful guy called Barry Carpenter, who's the Chair of Education at Oxford. And we're announcing new patrons as well later this year. So for us, it is a great thing that people understand and want to be part of this. And I'm really looking forward to working with everybody in Aberdeen to make this happen. We're going to provide a load of free resources for schools, whether that's children, teenagers, parents, to help give them support, of course. And again, there's going to be resources available for businesses. So in terms of how this also might benefit businesses, you'll see from the umbrellas up there, these umbrellas can carry branding that will promote your business. If you wanted to sponsor your local school to have one, then we'll make sure that your business logo is on the umbrellas that go up in that school. If you want to sponsor or contribute to the umbrellas that are going to go in public installations, then you need to speak to Adrian and Roulé, and we'll make sure that your logos go on there, so that when we are promoting and advertising this, and you will be quite surprised at how many television cameras want to come and film events and interview people beneath the umbrellas. They've become a real favourite for wedding couples as well now, which is great. I get letters from parents every year telling me that their children have said to them, we've got we've got to go and have our photograph taken under the umbrella, even if it meant them travelling halfway up the country to do so, because these kids, often referred to as having special educational needs, see themselves, because in our schools, often we see the kids who have got special educational needs, well, we don't really expect a lot of them. You know, the special needs teacher looks after them. We don't expect them to be in anything other than the bottom set. And actually, we've realised that that is actually a dreadful mistake on our part in terms of our understanding about the potential and ability and talent and creativity and employability of our young people in our schools who have dyslexia or dyspraxia or ADHD or autism or dyscalculia. We all have a unique contribution to make. It is about allowing different minds to come to the party, to come to the table, to come to the decision-making forums, and to come to Aberdeen Centre this June, July, August, September, and be part of this celebration. So there are a lot of ways that you can be involved. It's not just about you paying for things. That's not what this is about. But it is about engagement. It's about pride in your city. It is about pride in your workforce, pride in your young people, and how collaboratively you're going to meet the challenges and opportunities that are going to come. And let's be honest, after a pretty bizarre couple of years, I think we're all ready for a party and a celebration. And it seems to me this is one of the most inclusive and dynamic ways to do it. So I'm just going to finish with this little film clip. And
So there are 1 in 10 people with a neurodevelopmental condition. That's 1 in 10 people with either ADHD, autistic spectrum condition, dyspraxia, dyslexia. And what's amazing is that there are many more people in the public eye that are also coming out and talking publicly about their neurodevelopmental conditions. It's incredibly important for children to see and to understand that those people in the public eye are also neurodiverse. It's that celebration of the conditions and that outlook that the future looks positive for them. It's that opportunity for them to recognise their qualities and their strengths, and we talk very much about the superpowers of those with neurodevelopmental conditions and the things that they can do rather than things that they can't do.
My learning differences have been a superpower. ADHD in particular has taught me to be resilient. It is through my ADHD that I have been able to have the courage to start my Neurodiversity Celebration Week campaign. My message for people with neurodiversity is to always pursue your passions, never be discouraged by what other people say, and always remember that your neurodiversity can be a superpower that you can use to harness your talents.
Just because you have ADHD doesn't mean that you can't do what everyone else can do. I think I've proven to myself and a lot of people around me that just because I have ADHD, some autism and dyslexia, that I can still be as good as everyone else, if not better. Just say you got to really follow your dreams. Do what you love to do, and you're going to be able to do that to the best of your ability. And use your ADHD or whatever you have to your advantage, because sometimes it's a really good thing.
And it's important for me that not only our passengers but also our staff who work here, and hopefully staff who want to work here in the future, understand that they can be themselves and that they can absolutely fulfil their talents and potential no matter what their neurodiverse background.
So the umbrellas have been signed by children across a number of schools, and it's been an opportunity for them to celebrate their neurodiversity. It's working with children with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, and it's for us to celebrate the qualities that those children bring.
The children, they've just been fantastic, and you know, they've come along and they've seen that you can be different, but you can achieve.
We're here to celebrate people's differences, and people, like, if you're unique and special, that's what we're here for. And we did a dance to celebrate people, and we came in like a community, like we should be.
Not only is it an amazing art installation that really brightens up the city centre, but it also gives out a really strong message about celebrating a neurodiversity.
There should be no bounds to what people can achieve here. And people have always been at the key and the heart of what we do. The young talent that we see here today will drive some of the great businesses here. And you know what? One of the greatest innovations we might see in the future may well be born out of the people we see here today.
Installations like the Umbrella Project just bring it and highlight it to people's attention. It means that neurodiversity becomes something that we discuss openly and we see its colour and its value in society, rather than something that's hidden away and stigmatised. So it helps dispel some of the myths around neurodivergent conditions like ADHD, autism, and Tourette's, so that we can see the benefits to society that it undoubtedly brings.
It's great now to see that the Umbrella Project is happening in hundreds of schools across the UK. Again at Media City, which is a haven of neurodiverse talent here with ITV and BBC and all the high-tech industries. Heathrow Airport, Terminal 5, of course. A fantastic installation there and a lot of great work happening in schools around Heathrow. And really looking forward to next year. There's a number of hospitals, airports. We really want to see an Umbrella Project in Covent Garden. Lots of places that are really beginning to kind of come on board and understand what the Umbrella Project is all about, which is about celebrating the intelligence and ability and employability of the 1 in 10 people who are neurodiverse. So this is wonderful, and thank you to everybody involved who's made it happen. So, are you up for it? We'd really love to hear from you. I know that Rule and Adrian and everybody at Aberdeen Inspired would really like to hear from you. Now, this is not just, the plan isn't fixed. We are completely open and want to encourage everybody to come forward with ideas, with contributions, so that the whole thing is organic and it's unique to Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire, and it is reflecting everything about you and what you want and what you aspire to and what you are celebrating here in this part of Scotland. So really excited and really looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Powerful stuff. I'm sure you'll all agree. And very grateful to Tony and Josh for travelling up from Merseyside today. Can I spend some time, really I'm looking at you, but we can spend some time just follow-up discussion, chat?
Some time with questions. At the microphone, if anyone has any questions for Tony or Adrian. Where do you think the installation would be now?
We're looking at several locations at the moment. You have someone at the start, which is my million miles away.
Yeah.
One o'clock chats. I'm keen to do something up in the West End, because there's a lot of development down in the East End. Having said that, there's also potential for an electricity shift, but we'll remain open. Get that balance across the city. Yeah, but often you lie back. I think everybody's you're absorbing it. So spread it.
And individual schools and businesses can just have a couple of umbrellas. And we want community arts groups and things to do performances underneath the public installations as well. So.
I'll give you this and then it's just for the delegates and congratulations.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you had dates in mind yet?
It will, the actual celebration starts mid-June, will finish late September, early October. But we don't yet have a detailed itinerary of the different things that are going to be happening over the next few months. We want all of you guys to work with us and with Aberdeen Inspired to come up with ideas and suggestions, so that this is a celebration that will go on all summer and that is going to have lasting impact.
If I do that again this year, can I maybe put that money towards doing one of these?
Andy, that would be wonderful. Yeah, Andy, for people who don't know, is going to be part of the team that are going to row the North Passage of the Arctic.
Maybe 1 year we'll let Lexus get round to it.
And is a local guy who supports our organisation, and he's done a couple of fundraising events. So yes, that would be great. The more the merrier, because again, we want to be able to provide educational resources for schools and some free webinars for schools and for businesses. So yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
The other thing is, are you finding any leeway in getting into talks with religions and stuff? Are you having anything in there?
No, I think we're not excluding anybody, Andy. Anybody can take part.
Okay, because I was in the paper a couple of months ago and I'm renovating my house. So could I put an installation in my house which is attached to a
If
Catholic
you want
church?
to, Andy, you
Yeah.
say, if you want to hang some umbrellas from your ceiling, you're very welcome.
I think we should do that.
World's your oyster, Andy.
Is there anything else that anybody's curious about or any suggestions that you'd like to make?
Oh, can I pass this on to you?
Ryan?
Thank you. Hello. Okay. I think this is a fantastic idea, a fantastic initiative and a great charity. I was just wondering how businesses can get involved and how you're going to engage with the business community to develop the sponsorship opportunities, because I know a number of businesses sitting here watching this that would be delighted to get involved.
Well, we're going to make a number of suggestions about how they could be involved, whether it might be sponsoring an umbrella project in a local school, whether it's about having some training so that they can become a neurodiversity friendly business, even things like what kind of font you use on your marketing literature and on your website can make a huge difference to the 1 in 10 people who've got dyslexia. There are so many things you can do just to participate. But if you're interested in branding opportunities and things, then you need to speak with myself and Rule and Adrian to see how we can make that work. Because again, we want as many people to be engaged and involved as possible. And you know, you can do it for as little as a few £100s, for example. Obviously, with people like Heathrow and with Carnaby Street, you know, they kind of will pay in full for a big installation because they want their marketing brand all over it. But a lot of the installations have multiple branding, so it could be a whole collection of businesses that are involved in Aberdeen Inspire. Adrian, have you got any ideas or suggestions around this?
Those conversations, to reassure Ryan, have started in earnest already through Rule, and we've got some businesses present in the room today and virtually, and we'll follow that up through promotion and having that contact. So feel free to come to us directly, but there'll be plenty information going out to businesses and the schools, because the schools are really important to us. There's a lot of depth to this. We all understand that. And we really want to get
But it's about what they represent.
I don't think there's a better set on it, to be honest.
I think.
I'm just worried they're going to be strong enough to cope with the wind.
Well, I mean, the drawings are they're designed to manage storm winds up to 70 miles an hour. But if you do have a storm, you don't have to take them down. You just collapse the umbrellas, leave them in place, and then you can open them up again.
in the unlikely event that we have a storm. I'm really disappointed with Ryan. He is the vice chair for Aberdeen Inspired and is really positive about the city. This is one of the sunniest cities in the UK. We sit on the East Coast.
It's about all the power that wields and change the climate. So.
Yeah.
And what about the seagulls? How are you going to deal with it?
That's
These
a
sort of-
whole other story, Lee. I can
Well-
take you for a coffee.
Let's be open about that. These type of interventions, I don't know if you've heard elsewhere, Tony, are really good for that. It displaces them a little. But we have other measures in hand at the moment as well to control things, shall we say, in the nicest possible way.
They
It's
don't
never
like
been
the
a
bright
problem.
colours.
Actually, it's never been a
So
problem.
they don't sit on them, and they're not stationary, they're swaying in the wind, so they don't really...
This could be the answer we've all been waiting for.
On so many different levels.
If you wish, yeah.
I'm just wondering, I work in Orchardbury School, which has obviously got a wide range of young people that would really look forward to work under the project. How do you envisage schools working with businesses matched together, or, you know, and is it an actual event that we will work toward, or, you know, what's the idea?
We're gonna be speaking to lots of people. So Aberdeen Inspired and ourselves are going to be looking at how we might be able to match up different partners in different ways. You know, and if a business comes forward and says, you know what, we're going to sponsor a local school to take part, you know, we'll connect people as best we can. We don't want to be prescriptive. We want people to have collective ownership of this. So it's about you telling us how can we be involved? What can we contribute? What can we do? You know, what activity? It might even just be an assembly in a school, for example. We really want all of those ideas and suggestions to come from you, and then together, working together, we'll make this into something that is unique for Aberdeen and meets your needs and what you want to get out of this celebration.
And I suppose our approach to the schools, we don't want to be too ad hoc, you know, just because you happen to be along here today. I see there's representatives from Mile End, I'm told, which is fantastic. My wife is a teacher at Kingswell, so she might have a passing interest in this, but we want to go through the likes of Eleanor and Aberdeen City so that all schools in the city, likewise in the Shire, are engaged and get the opportunity to get involved in as many kids as possible, for obvious reasons.
Not too busy listening to Adrian, that's all right.
Hi. I kind of understand how you can get in touch with schools, obviously through Eleanor, and it's all sort of, well, most of it's City Council. How do you reach out to all the different businesses? That's because I had a conversation with my husband today about coming to this, and he didn't really know very much about it. So I was just sort of wondering how that happens.
And don't think I'm being too ignorant, because it's the very early stages,
Yeah.
can I say. This is the formative kind of discussion we're having, and we're delighted to see so many of you here, in person and online. The real discussion starts now. We have access directly to about 1,600 city centre businesses, for instance. Ryan doubles up as the Grampian Chamber of Commerce, so you can imagine we'll get the word out. We've had the media involved today, so I think there'll be some traction, so plenty of opportunity. But we'll look at yourselves to be advocates as well, coming away, and you'll certainly get the word out there. And hopefully get a dividend back.
And it's about what change you want to see for yourselves. Where do you take this forward? You know, it's not going to end when the umbrellas come down in September. We want it to have lasting impact. It's got to have legacy. But again, it's not for us to tell you what that legacy should be. It's for everybody here and across the city to say, well, this is what we'd like to see as a benefit. Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
The vision I have, Mary, allow me, I'll play to the audience, but I've got a group of people, because we're likely to bring new art back to the city this year and have a bit more of a festival feel. So come summer, and we will have the Queen's celebration. We'll have, despite what Ryan said, and your good self, Scotcher again in Aberdeen. So people will come in their thousands and go through, and I use the ship row because that's potentially one of our locations. They will go along ship row, they will look up. Our guides on new art will tell them exactly what this commendable chap and his charity does nationally, and then they'll go and see some world-class art. And in amongst all that, enjoy the business community in Aberdeen City Centre. Something for us all to look forward to.
And the promotional benefit, I mean, if you think 1,600 businesses and all the connections that you've got, and all the connections that the schools and the local authority and ourselves and our partner agencies and sponsors have got, and you are all on this big social media thread and conversation, the exposure about what is happening in Aberdeen will be global, by the way. It is amazing, actually, just how far-reaching this story travels. And I think we're all ready for a celebration and a party, aren't we? So again, I think, you know, the potential of this actually as an exercise in, you know, the brand, Aberdeen as a brand is phenomenal.
Can I just ask, please, just to check with the schools element, you spoke about it being June to September. We would, for schools, it would need to be a much longer project than that.
We'll be making resources available to schools from early May, but we're mindful again about examinations, and schools have had enough disruption over the past couple of years. So the idea is it's about how it works for you in whatever way.
Because we'd be looking really at a full year almost, is that with certain trying to get things installed in schools, that takes a good while, so it might not be September till they're actually installed.
What a great legacy idea that actually this is about some innovation and transformation in education here. That is a year-long project, but I can't tell you that that's what you've got to do. This has got to come from you, and you've got to tell us how you want to do that.
We would want to link it very much to not just awareness raising with our school. It would really very much be looking at employment and developing young workforce, and lots of other events round about with this as a centre launch piece almost to do that.
Absolutely.
Project.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, ours.
Brilliant.
Great. Do we have a plan? Or at least the start of one? Well done. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, Chris.